The world is, for a moment, perfect. The hunters return with a young hadrosaur slung between two poles, a bounty of meat that promises full bellies and a night of rare peace. At their lead is Okage, a man in his prime, his laughter a deepened, easy rumble. He carries a fresh wound on his forearm, for small punctures, a story he tells with a dismissive shrug. A small, furry thing as sea molester had been scavenging their trail, latching onto his arm before he smashed it with a rock. A strange event, but in a world of giant claws and crushing jaws, a bite from a rat-like creature is a trivial annoyance, a mark of the small fury. The clan feasts. The firelight dances on smiling faces. Life, precarious as it always is, feels good, solid. The first sign that something is wrong is the water. The next day, Okage, his throat dry from the salted, smoked meat, goes to the stream to drink, brings the cool water to his lips, and then recoils with a violent shudder, spilling it. He tries again, and a spasm seizes his throat, his whole body arching as if he has been poisoned. The clan watches, confused. This is not a sickness they know. There is no fever, no rash, no wound rot. It is something else, something deeper, a madness that begins in the water. Over the next 2 days, the change accelerates. Okage, the laughing hunter, grows silent. His eyes, once clear and bright, become haunted, restless, constantly scanning the shadows. He startles at sudden noises. He begins to drool, a thin, constant trickle from the corner of his mouth. The children, who adore him, approach him with a small carved toy. He snarls at them, a guttural, animal sound that sends them scattering in terror. His wife, Nia, tries to soothe him, to touch his brow, but he flinches away from her hand as if it were a flame. The man they know is being hollowed out, replaced by a suspicious, terrified stranger. This affliction is a new kind of monster, one that wears the face of a loved one. The true horror arrives on the third night. A breeze rustles the hides at the cave entrance. Okage, who has been sitting in a rigid, tense silence, leaps to his feet. His eyes are wild, his teeth bared in a terrifying rictus. He is not defensive, he is aggressive. He isn't just at the man nearest to him, his friend, his hunting partner. He uses his teeth. He bites down on the man's shoulder, a savage, tearing motion, before the others can react, tackling him to the ground. The cave erupts into chaos. It is a scene from a nightmare, a desperate, clumsy struggle in the flickering firelight as 3 men try to subdue one of their own who has become inexplicably, terrifyingly strong. They finally pin him, his body still writhing, a low, inhuman growl vibrating in his chest. They stare down at the man they love, a prisoner in his own body, and then at the new, bleeding bite mark on his friend's shoulder. And a cold, terrifying thought begins to dawn: this is not just a sickness. It is a seed. The cave is no longer a shelter, it is a cage. The entrance is now barricaded with a lattice of thick branches, not to keep the horrors of the prehistoric world out, but to keep their own horror in. Okage is tied with every strip of hide they own, bound to a heavy rock pillar at the back of the cave. He strains against the bonds, his growls echoing in the confined space, a constant, chilling reminder of the madness that walks among them. His wife Nia sits just beyond his reach, her face an unmask of grief, trying to talk to the man who is no longer there. The second bite victim, a hunter named Bor, is now the focus of a terrifying watch. The clan sits in a state of suspended animation, their eyes constantly flicking between the bound Okage and the wounded Bor. Is he sick? Will he become like Okage every time he clears his throat? Every time he twitches in his sleep, a wave of fear ripples through the small community. This contagion is a new kind of warfare, a silent, internal invasion. The fear is a poison, turning the trust that binds them into a corrosive suspicion. The hunters, their ranks now depleted and their morale shattered, must still patrol the perimeter. The scent of blood and fear has not gone unnoticed. A pair of Dakotaraptors lay about to test their territory. They are bolder now, their bird-like, inquisitive heads appearing over the rocks, their chilling calls echoing in the tense silence. They can sense the weakness, the distraction. The clan is a wounded animal, and the predators of this ancient earth are circling. On the second day, Bor refuses water. The first telltale spasm racks his body. The clan's worst fears are realized. The seed has sprouted. The decision they face is one of terrible, stark choices. They cannot tie him up as they did Okage. They do not tie him up as they did Okage. They do not have enough rope, and they cannot spare the men to watch him. He is a hunter. He will be an even greater threat than Okage was. The shaman, an old woman named Lyra, who has seen every sickness the world has to offer, is at a loss. Her poultices, her chants, her sacred herbs, they are all useless against the sickness of the mind. An argument run desperate breaks out. Some argue to cast him out, to drive him into the wilderness before he can turn. Others, led by his own brother, refuse. He is our kin. He pleads, his voice cracking. We do not throw our people to the raptors. They compromise. They will build a smaller cage within the cave, a pen of sharpened stakes, a place to contain Bor, to keep him close, to hope for a miracle that they all know in their hearts will not come. The sound of sharpened stone scraping against wood fills the cave, a grim, rhythmic preparation for the inevitable. They are becoming new experiences of their own loved ones, their home or prison, their family from the dusk, closer this time. And the sound is like the laughter of a merciless world. The end for Okage comes not with a bang, but a whimper. After a final, violent day of straining against his bonds, a series of terrifying convulsions leaves him limp. A strange, exhausted calm settles over him. He lies panting, his eyes for a moment clearing of the madness. He looks at Nia, and in that fleeting instant he is Okage again. He tries to speak, but his throat, paralyzed by the affliction, can only produce a choked, rattling sound. Then, he is still. The first victim of the new plague is dead. The grief is a suffocating blanket, but there is no time to mourn. Bor's transformation is now complete. In his small, crude cage, he paces like a trapped animal, snarling, his eyes burning with an unseeing rage. The clan is trapped in a waking nightmare, sharing their home with a monster that wears a familiar face, while the real monsters, the sleek and feathered Dakotaraptors, grow ever bolder at their doorstep. A hunter, scouting the perimeter, is nearly taken, saved only by a lucky spear cast from the cave mouth. They are besieged from within and without. The breaking point comes when a child, drawn by a morbid curiosity, wanders too close to Bor's cage. Bor lunges, his teeth snapping shut just inches from the child's face. The mother's scream cuts through the cave. And in that scream, the clan understands a terrible, immutable truth. Their love, their loyalty, their desperate hope to save their kin, all of it is a luxury they can no longer afford. The survival of the group of the children must outweigh the fate of the individual. It is Lyra the shaman who speaks the unspeakable. Her voice, though frail, carries the weight of an iron law. The sickness is a curse carried by the body. She says, her eyes sweeping over the grim faces. We cannot heal it. We cannot contain it. If we allow the bitten to stay, the curse will devour us all. She raises a hand, her fingers thin and bony. From this day forward, there is a new law, a new taboo. Anyone who carries the mark of the Fury on their arm or their leg or their face cannot remain. They must walk the lonely path. They must leave the clan. It is the first quarantine. It is the brutal, pragmatic birth of public health, an act of communal self-preservation that feels like an act of profound cruelty. To cast out one of their own is a violation of their deepest instincts. But the alternative is extinction. Bor's brother, his face a mask of anguish, stands. He walks to the cage, not with a spear but with a water skin and a haunch of smoked meat. He sets it on the ground. He does not open the cage. He helps the others dismantle the barricade at the cave's entrance. He opens the door to their home and lets the monster out. Bor, freed from his prison, gives them one last well-dyed look, and then bolts into the twilight, a tragic, doomed figure. His brother watches him go. Tears streaming down his face, having made a sacrifice that will haunt him for the rest of his days. The clan has survived, but they have lost a part of their humanity to do so, their innocence left bleeding on the floor of the cave, embers and decos. They live with the fear now. It becomes a permanent part of their world. An endemic threat as real as the raptors in the grass. Every hunt that ends with a bite from a warm-blooded creature is now followed by a grim, silent watch. The taboo becomes their most sacred and terrible law, a shield forged from their own heartbreak. The lonely path is a known destination. This brutal choice, this severing of the individual for the sake of the collective, is a cornerstone of civilization we often forget. It is the cold, hard calculus of survival, the moment our ancestors learned that a self must sometimes make rules that feel monstrous. They did not have the language of virology or immunology. They only knew that a poison was in their midst, and that it had to be cut out. We are the descendants of those who were strong enough to cast out their own brothers, to sacrifice their love for the cold, hard logic of the future. The ghosts of the exile walk behind us, a silent reminder that the price of our continued existence was paid in a currency of impossible choices. This has been the chronicle of the Bitten clan. Their laws were written in teeth and tears. But what if the thing to be cast out is not a person but an entire way of life?